Have you ever wondered what was inside your liquid cooler, inside the radiator, and exactly how this worked in your computer? Well, today I actually am going to be tearing down this old Corsair cooler that is leaving a build that I have in right now because it just simply won't fit the new the new CPU that's going in. So in an effort to try to attempt to save the addressable RGB that's on board, I am going to tear this down, and in the process I thought I might share it with you. Alright, so it's probably completely unnecessary for me to undo this part. This is, I want to share with you guys the part that actually sits on your CPU. So this is what's called the IHS, or I guess it's not the IHS, this is the heat sink part of your cooler. Now if it's copper, it's usually better for heat conductivity and that kind of thing. So we're going to go ahead and start by taking that copper plate off the top. Now this should be difficult to get apart, and the reason it should be difficult is because it's not supposed to come apart, not realistically. I mean, you're supposed to be able to, sure, there's some screws in it that come out, but you really don't want this leaking anywhere. But the part that I'm taking out right now are the screws, and underneath of here should be some liquid, and I'll show you by draining the liquid into the cup that's right here off to my right. Okay, we're about halfway through the screws on this heat spreader. Now, it's probably completely unnecessary for me to take this apart, like I said, to this degree, but I'm doing it anyway. I figured it would at the very least be an interesting video. Okay, here we go. Now, we'll see. Can we actually just pull this off, or is it going to be difficult to get off? It looks like it's going to be a difficult one to get off. So I am going to wheel into my back room here and pull out my pry tool. And you want it, realistically, you want it to be difficult to get out. You don't want something that's not sealed properly, because if it's easy to get out, that means that all that liquid could actually be leaking all over inside your computer. But this is what's underneath. It's pretty fascinating. You can see that the idea behind it is that the liquid that comes down actually runs right onto this pipe, circulates, and then comes back up through here. So again, this is the top side of that plate, and I know I might have been holding it out of frame here, but that's what you get underneath of your heat spreader. Okay, so now we're going to do something else that's kind of fun. We're going to actually see if we can drain some of this liquid out of here without a pump intact or anything like that. Annoying chair. I'm going to scoot some of these screws aside. Now we put those other screws in the cup already, but what we're going to do is just hold this cooler over the cup. We'll see if holding this up high. There we go. So if you have one of these in your computer, one of these radiators, this is the kind of liquid that's inside of it. And it doesn't look like it's much. Oh, well, maybe it is much. I don't know. I'm just kind of moving the radiator. You can't see it because it's out of frame, but I'm kind of moving the radiator around. We're still getting some liquid out of the liquid cooler here. So this effectively will just not work anymore after what I've just done. And that's okay. I anticipated that it wouldn't work anymore after this, so. Right? So, let me just see what you guys are seeing here. There we go. If you look in there, we got about, this is a red Solo cup. We got probably about, well, a third of a cup of liquid inside this liquid cooler, and this is a 240 millimeter cooler. So as I said originally, the original goal of doing this wasn't to show you the liquid, but it was to salvage what is on the other side of this, which is the RGB hub. So in theory, I should be able to take this, all the electronics sit kind of right here above the pump. I want to get it apart, but I don't know that I can. And the reason I want to do this is because we're keeping those addressable RGB fans in the computer for the customer. Hang on, guys. I'm going to grab some paper towels here. Let's see. Okay. Again, I don't really care about the radiator at this point, but it's still attached, and I don't know if I can simply pull it off. I don't think I can. I think they've made it a lot more difficult to access that way. Let's see if we can pull the top off of this cooler then, or off of the see if the top part separates. Maybe we can salvage the electronics, the internal electronics that way. There we go. I'm sensing some double-sided tape in there. Yep, there we go. It pulls that metal plate off. It's just double-sided tape down. There's a couple of small Phillips screws right underneath of that. We can pull those out. Again, we're probably not intended to be able to do this, but if you want the stuff to work, why wouldn't you, you know? The hub lives in the head of this, which is why I'm doing this at all. And again, I'm going to say it, in theory, once I pull this off, the hub should just exist right here, which it does. And actually it looks like there has been some liquid getting into the hub, so that's a little unfortunate. It's actually dried and caked in there, so that's really not what you want, but it is what it is. All right. Got one more screw and the actual RGB hub will be out of here. Hopefully you guys are actually seeing what I'm doing. Yep, you are. I can never tell because my silly camera screen goes to sleep. So, okay. And then we'll just start kind of wiggling at this. We'll get the pry tool out again here. We'll try to pop it up some. And there we go. Ah, that's so interesting. That is so interesting. The whole pump assembly lives right on top of the electronics there. You see that? So the actual pump right here, where the pump goes, you can see that spins and spins and spins. That's what actually circulates your liquid through this part here. So that's what that might be why there was a little bit of liquid left in this on the chip itself, because it was leaking through there. So I don't need the pump attached to it anymore. All I really want is the RGB aspect of it, so, but I don't know that I can safely detach this from the board here. Looks like there might be a couple small plastic parts here where I can shove them back through, and that might disengage the pump from. Yeah, it sure does. It disengages the pump from the chip. I'm trying to do so carefully without damaging anything. And there we go. Okay. And then as you can see here, the pump is held to the actual pump assembly is held to the chip by one single wire. And that wire is going to be your signal wire for reading your temperature and engaging and disengaging the pump itself. So I don't know how well you guys can see that. I'm going to try to hold that up so you can. But yeah, that's pretty much what you're dealing with there. So we'll go ahead and we're going to pull that. It's soldered right here, and that's actually where the liquid damage was that I could see on this board. So, but because we don't need that anymore, what I'm going to do, I should have some snips around here, is I'm going to take this and I'm going to snip it off. And that's it. Well, that's what's inside of your Corsair liquid cooled pump assembly. And then we were able to salvage our RGB for the rest of the computer. So you can see by looking here that I still have the 2 fan signal cables here if I wanted to run those. I still have the this is the CPU fan header, which we won't use. But there's that, and then there's the SATA connection here, which just straight powers it. I'm mostly interested in this part right here, which handles the RGB functionality of the actual thing. So what I'll probably wind up doing here, because it's not addressable RGB, it doesn't look like, is I will likely end up taking, well, that's not entirely true. There is a USB port here, and I might have something that fits it. So I may end up taking this and working with it a little bit more to see if I can get it to be addressable within iCUE. And if I can, then the customer is going to have addressable RGB still without losing everything, which would be awesome for him. This cute little wire that runs the pump, I'm just going to snip it a little closer to the board so we don't have any voltage going to it. We shouldn't anyway, since we're not going to be re-hooking up the fan assembly or the CPU power. Not CPU power, but you know what I mean. The CPU fan header is not going to be populated, so we won't have any signal going to it for temperature regulation anyway. But anyway, guys, yeah, that's the RGB. That's the RGB part of it, and that's what I was trying to salvage from my customer, so he could actually continue to use his Corsair fans and address the RGB. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and if this was interesting to you, well, drop a like and definitely subscribe, because I think it was pretty interesting to me. It's my first time actually tearing one of these down and seeing what's inside, which appears to be this yellow yummy liquid. So thanks for watching.